The Queensland Government is pushing ahead with its $3.8 billion Olympic Stadium at Barrambin, sparking outrage over plans to override cultural heritage protections. In Western Australia, Water Corporation's surprise decision to end its scholarship funding for Indigenous students has raised concerns about corporate accountability. Meanwhile, all eyes are on the federal court as it prepares to deliver a historic ruling in a Torres Strait Islander-led climate case that could reshape national emissions policy. More on that later. Kaya, this is the National Indigenous Times Daily News Bulletin for Wednesday the 2nd of July. Western Australia's Water Corporation has ended its 5-year funding partnership with Medalla, an Indigenous education charity that provides scholarships for Aboriginal students across WA to attend top-performing schools. Since 2020, the partnership has supported 32 students, offering financial aid, mentorship, and a pathway to higher education. The decision comes despite Water Corporation recording a $946.8 million operating surplus in 2023 and public commitment to Aboriginal engagement through its Reconciliation Action Plan. A spokesperson said current scholarship recipients would continue to receive support, and the organisation is now exploring future partnerships that align with its RAP. The move has sparked concern over the lack of consultation with Medalla or affected communities, and that uncertainty remains about whether Water Corporation will fund alternative education initiatives. The corporation pointed to $24 million spent in contracts awarded to Aboriginal-owned businesses between 2023 and 2024, but has yet to detail how it will continue supporting Indigenous education in the absence of the Medalla scholarships. The Queensland Government has confirmed it will proceed with plans to build a $3.8 billion Olympic Stadium at Victoria Park, despite strong opposition from traditional owners and community groups. This week, the government passed new legislation that accelerates the delivery of Olympic infrastructure, granting itself expanded powers that allow cultural heritage protections to be overridden if agreements with Indigenous communities cannot be reached. The site, known traditionally as Barrambin or Wallen, holds deep cultural and historical significance for the Turrbal and Yugara people. Yugara woman Auntie Deb Sandy described it as a sacred land used for gathering ceremonies and as a place of shelter and connection for her ancestors. The legislation has sparked fierce backlash, with advocacy group Save Victoria Park threatening legal action and hundreds recently forming a human no in protest. Despite the mounting criticism, the government has allocated $7.1 billion in its budget for Olympic venues, including the controversial stadium at Barrambin. The federal court will hand down its decision next Tuesday, 15th of July, in a landmark climate case brought by Torres Strait Islander traditional owners Uncle Paul Kabai and Uncle Papai Papai. Filed in 2021, the case argues the Australian government has failed its legal duty of care by not acting fast enough to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, placing some Torres Strait Islands at serious risk. Rising sea levels, coastal erosion and flooding are already damaging homes, sacred sites and livelihoods, with evidence presented in court warning the islands could become uninhabitable within 30 years. The plaintiffs are calling for stronger emissions reductions in line with climate science. If successful, the case could reshape government policy on fossil fuel approvals and accelerate the transition to clean energy. The decision will be live streamed from 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time via the Federal Court's YouTube channel, with a press conference to follow. Independent Senator Lydia Thorpe has welcomed the Yoorrook Justice Commission's landmark declaration that Victoria's colonial past constitutes genocide, calling on the federal government to support truth-telling, deliver treaty, and end modern-day acts of genocide. The Commission's final report details the catastrophic impact of colonisation since 1834, including massacres, cultural erasure, and child removals, and calls for redress measures such as land returns and financial compensation. Senator Thorpe emphasised the national relevance of the findings and urged the government to uphold international obligations, stating, "This is not just a state issue, it's a national tragedy." The report, based on thousands of submissions and testimonies, has been hailed as an opportunity for justice, healing, and systematic change. The coroner overseeing the inquest into the death of 16-year-old Cleveland Dodd has flagged the potential for a special inquiry into Unit 18, the youth wing of Perth's adult Casuarina prison, where Cleveland fatally self-harmed in October 2023. Preliminary findings revealed serious systematic failures, including excessive cell confinement, poor mental health support, and staff not following basic safety protocols. The inquest heard Cleveland was left without access to running water, fresh air, education, and therapeutic care, and that staff described Unit 18 as a war zone marked by chronic understaffing and chaos. The coroner is considering recommending the closure of Unit 18 and that the Youth Justice Estate no longer sit under the Department of Justice. A final report and potential adverse findings are expected in due course. That's today's Daily News Roundup from the National Indigenous Times. For more news, head to nit.com.au and sign up to our free newsletter today.